There's a principle known as the pain of paying, where we feel a sense of pain every time we pay for something. The more clearly that we can see money leaving our hands, the stronger that pain. So in this video, I'll give you 5 techniques to reduce that pain so that customers are more motivated to follow through with the purchase. So the first thing that you can optimize is the currency symbol. Studies show that currency symbols increase the pain of paying. So that exposure reinforces the saliency of a payment, so people need more motivation to follow through with the purchase. However, there are a few ways to overcome that obstacle. So first, and perhaps most effective, is to simply remove that currency symbol entirely. So if you're displaying your price in a context where people know it's a price and they know the accepted type of currency, you don't need a symbol. So just remove it entirely. Unfortunately, though, there are times where the price won't be as readily apparent, and you'll need a currency symbol to emphasize that that number is indeed a price. So in those cases, you still have a few options. So instead of removing the symbol entirely, you can minimize it so that you reduce its saliency. In addition, depending on the design context, you can also increase its opacity and or use a similar color as the background so that you allocate all of the visual contrast toward the numerals within your price. A second way to reduce the pain of paying involves the relative size of people's budgets. So suppose that you have a monthly budget of $500. If you spend $10 on a movie ticket at the beginning of the month, you'll subtract $10 from $500, so you're left with $490, a pretty healthy amount. Now, if you were to spend $10 on a movie ticket toward the end of the month, when your monthly budget has been more depleted, you'll feel a stronger sense of pain. So the fewer funds that we have in our budget, the stronger the pain that we'll feel when spending that money. And researchers call that principle the bottom dollar effect. And there are 2 primary ways you can take advantage of it. First, if you sell some type of software, you could offer free trials toward the beginning of the month. So during that time, customers will be more likely to pay full price because they'll usually have more room in their budget. Plus, since they'll experience less pain, they'll be more likely to actually enjoy their experience using the software. And the second way you can take advantage of the bottom dollar effect is by offering discounts toward the end of the month. So during that time, customers are more focused on their depleting budget, so monetary discounts will be more persuasive. So always consider the budgets of your target market and when those budgets are full versus depleted. A third way to reduce the pain of paying is by creating a payment medium. So because the pain of paying is caused by the saliency of money leaving our hands, you can reduce that pain by converting that payment into something else before taking it from someone. And this principle is at the heart of credit cards. So in essence, a credit card is a medium. People can't directly see money leaving their hands, so they don't experience as much pain as they do with cash. Now, an obvious takeaway would be to encourage people to pay through credit cards. That way they feel less pain, and you'll be more likely to upsell them to other products and services. But there are other ways to take advantage of payment mediums. So if you sell a software-based product, you could set up some type of credit system where people buy credits that they can use to purchase features, services, or anything else. So without those credits, there would be a direct relationship between the payment and the value that people receive. So people are more likely to evaluate the purchase by weighing those 2 factors and determining whether or not their purchase was worth it. And even if they conclude that the purchase was worth it, that mere comparison process guides their attention toward the payment, and that cost becomes more salient, increasing their pain. However, if you were to use a credit system, you impede that comparison process. Suddenly, it becomes difficult for people to judge the value of their payment, and so they're more likely to instead focus on the benefits that they're receiving. And if you do decide to use this type of credit system, you should also avoid using a 1-to-1 ratio. So if someone buys 50 credits for $50, they know that each credit is worth $1. So to maximize the effectiveness of this approach, you need to impede that comparison process. So use an unequal ratio. Similarly, a fourth method of reducing the pain of paying is to avoid using language that has a connotation with currency or money. So if you're using a credit system, don't refer to those credits as the quote-unquote money in your account. Give those credits a unique or original name, like Calenda credits. That way people aren't spending money, they're spending Calenda credits, which have no inherent economic value, so the pain is minimized. And lastly, the final method might not be that practical for a business, but it can be practical for your own individual spending habits. So researchers have found support for the denomination effect, where we feel more pain with larger denominations of currency. And conversely, we prefer to receive money in larger denominations compared to smaller denominations. So why does that happen? Well, there are three plausible explanations. And the first is processing fluency. You can mentally process a $100 bill faster and more easily than 10 $10 bills. So you misattribute those positive emotions to the larger denomination bill. The second explanation involves mental accounting. So we tend to mentally separate our spending into distinct categories, such as a food budget or an entertainment budget. And we tend to allocate a certain portion of our budget to those categories. And along the same lines, it's possible that we create categories for denominations of money. So with large denominations, we might allocate those to a category called real money, whereas we might allocate smaller denominations to a category of loose change or petty cash, and we view that money to be less important. The third explanation involves self-control. So if we have 5 $20 bills, we have no problem breaking one of them, but we feel more uncomfortable breaking a $100 bill. So if we're worried about our spending habits, we might consciously choose to receive large denominations as a strategic attempt to limit our spending. Now, realistically, the denomination effect occurs through a combination of all three of those explanations. But at the end of the day, we place more value on and we feel more pain spending large denominations of currency. And if you want a deeper look at the research behind these principles, or if you want to learn more pricing techniques, you can click below to download my full PDF on the psychology of pricing.